other stuff, but we're going to try and this time work with just cards because that's so quick. And each person of you, I don't mean to shortchange anybody, but if I want to get all 25, it's going to take a bit. And then I have Kelly's got to put her 2 cents in. So I'm hoping this helps. And so for Jen Miranda, okay, this is for me when I do this. This is yes, and this is no. And we're going to do. I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to say, were your gifts, spiritual gifts, showing up when you were 10, before you were 10? Yes, right. You've had it your whole life, and your dreams are becoming more real. Is she opening up? Her dreams opening up because of the ascension? What's going on right now? Yes. And I'm going to give you all a tip if you didn't see it. Intuitive View, Kim did a show Monday night, which was not part of the norm. We have shows we kind of normally do. She had been given a message from Spirit to convey a lot of information to us. And it's exactly the same stuff I've been working on. And it's time for us to each assume our own spirituality. And I've always been big on that. So, and there's a spirit behind you, Kelly.
I know, right? Just never fails.
So what did you pull up for Jen Miranda?
I got angels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to my Kippers, and what's interesting is I got gift.
So she's been gifted all her life.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a lot of difficult work for her to go through this journey and this sort of I want to say almost to understand the enlightenment. And then I've got the Lovers, which that creates that bond. Like there's definitely something that's been happening for her for a while, whether she realizes it or not. Now, what I think is interesting is the next card that I've got is Leaving or Travel.
Yeah, I think what happened, what I've pictured is she got away from her kind of limited world of her people, and she met other people and realized, I know these people too. Because that's what happened to me when I moved. I lived in the same small town for 18 years. So a lot of what I thought was because I was around everybody, you went to school. I was a boomer. So you went to school with all your friends, brothers and sisters, and they were, they all knew you knew each other. And I thought I knew about people because I just heard it somewhere. When I got to college, it was a big shock to find out that I already knew it, even if I hadn't grown up in the same town with them. So that's a real adjustment for you when you get there. But you don't have to explain the things. You just have to open your heart up and say, is this real? And it'll tell you. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, next question is Jennifer Cooper. As a child, I felt like an adult trapped with little people who couldn't understand me. Oh, God, do I remember that. I had to work really hard at cultivating friendships. Am I an old soul? And I already know this is kind of a yes. So I'm going to do the past life that most affects you in this life and this life. I'm going to do the Spirit 7 reading.
I just want to say hi, everybody. Hi, honey. My husband's in the chat, popping in to say hi. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I did turn the simulcast on to my channel.
Good. By the way, I finally found out how to do that for people. It's just so exciting. Okay. Yeah, in a past life, one of the reasons you felt like you were trapped is because no one had valued your skills and they told you to cut off your heart and not listen to yourself. Yeah. So you had a real hard time relating to people. You brought that energy into this life.
Wow.
Your life is to find justice for yourself and for your own being, to find your people, to find the people you can relate to. That's this card. And to build your own power. And you're not done yet, girl. So you're just but you are an old soul.
I love this reading because I basically have all the same cards. I've got imprisonment or slavery, so definitely
Mhm.
feeling trapped. I've got the courtship card, which, trying to find your support network, the people that you're connected to, your soul tribe. I've got these three cards popped out. So I've got up from the depths. This is releasing difficulty. So it's a journey that you're working on. The next two cards that I've got, one is past life guides and the other one is personal guides.
Mhm.
So the
You've
past
had a
life,
team around her for a long time.
absolutely. The past life guides are karmic lessons and present assistance. So ask for help. Ask them,
Mhm.
right? Your personal guide is the guardian angels in the spirit family. Definitely ask them for help. They can hear you, right? When you see synchronicities, when you hear a song, when you smell a certain scent, when you find change, feathers, there's lots of things, right? Your dreams, there's lots of ways that they're communicating with you. Stop and ask them for help. And if you don't understand, ask them to clarify, and they will do it for you.
Okay. So we're going to go on to, I told you guys, we got to run because this is like
We're on a
25.
marathon. This is not a sprint.
Saffron Kohler. I would love a past life reading, and so I'm going to do a Spirit 7 for you. Y'all understand there's a lot of different ways we can look at past lives. You can do Akashic Records, you can do meditation, you can do numbers, a lot of things in numbers, you'll see patterns. I want to tell you about a friend of mine who's in Ireland this week. She's my friend I stay with in Denver. We've been friends for over 40 years, almost 48 years. And she found a picture one day and she sent it to me and she said, "Do you know where this is?" Well, it was the coast of Moher, which is on the west coast of Ireland. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" And she said, "I've been there. I know I've been there." So yesterday she went to the coast and she got off the bus, the tour bus they were on, and walked right up to the place where she could take exactly the picture she'd found in the magazine.
Wow, that's so cool.
She's like, I said, "Is it all opening up?" She said, "I'll tell you when I get home." I think she can't even express it. So, past life and making sense in this one. Oh, this life's for you to find freedom.
Yeah.
And, okay, yes, you're finding your people this time. These three cards represent the past life. And you had kind of an icky marriage. And that has made it hard for you. You don't want to get trapped in that prison. And this time you found
the same thing.
You got all your freedom comes from totally from yourself, but you deny yourself that. You're still kind of afraid. You are an entrepreneurial woman. You're a person with great ideas. And you sometimes you don't express that, but I think you're falling into a situation where you can express more of that for yourself. So to make sense of this one, you need to turn yourself around and become the Queen of Wands all the time. Look up the Queen of Wands as an archetype because that's your archetype. What you got, kiddo?
I got the same sort of vibe. I've got male, female with their backs to each other and the unrequited love. And I also, from the Kipper deck, I've got the wealthy man and the house. So I feel like, solid foundation, that sense of security and, the stable family is super important to you. I feel like you have that, but you're not satisfied because of the past life influence, right? So great exercise is to do like a gratitude journal. When I say that, I don't mean that you're not satisfied. What I mean is you might always feel like something's missing, or you might have set the bar really so far ahead of yourself. You know what I mean? So it's time to sort of take a step back and recognize all the blessings that you have, and do some work in that area, and that might help sort of put this to rest.
Okay. Let's see. The next one is, this is from Crone Zone. And you made a particular thing. Were you in Lemuria or Atlantis? I can tell you right now, yes. Really, to look at those lives in that point, from that point of view, is a very that's almost an Akashic Records sort of reading. I mean, not all past lives readings are made equally, but I'm going to see what energies you carried from that time, and I'll see if I get an impression which it was.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for popping in.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate all of you. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up if you're watching on whoever's channel you're watching on, or if you're watching on both.
Tough to watch on both.
This is for Priscilla. I seen Priscilla in the chat. Hi, Priscilla.
Well, among other things, you may be chromosome, but you were you brought in more of your masculine energy into this life. You were in Lemuria at the end. You were trying to solve the problems, but there just wasn't any reconciling with what was going on in that was upsetting all the energies. So this is you going down with the ship, kid. I mean, if you look at that card,
wow,
he's sailing down. So in this life, you've come in with a much more positive attitude and I'm gonna hang back or sit back or anything. You're moving forward, and that just means you have a very assertive and aggressive power, and that's okay. It's not a negative thing. You're not going to sit under the tree and wait for the next thing to happen. You're going to sing out about what you think ought to be done, and you're having a hell of a good time meeting up with a lot of old friends from that period of time right now.
All right. I've got spirituality and religion.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the medicine man or woman.
Mm-hmm.
So from the Kippers, I've got gift and thoughts. Sorry, there's like a really bad glare.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the laptop in the living room, so it's like I'm learning how to work with this all over again. So I feel like I don't know two things. Either that it comes to you in dreams, like information
Mm-hmm.
comes to you in dreams that maybe you time travel or something of that
Mm-hmm.
nature, and or that this is like a reoccurring thought, reoccurring dream, something that keeps coming back to you that you can't quite close the book on. The chapter's not quite done. And the reason why I said that is because like we've got two books here, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
book here and a book here.
So she's always been in that kind of position of leadership, I think.
Well, that kind of position of leadership and healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like healing
Right.
is a very big thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't pick up on anything with Lemuria or Atlantis. Sorry, but I definitely get that you've been a healer in a past life as well as currently.
Okay.
So.
All right. Like I said, these are the world's favorite readings. Russian gal, I would love a past life reading.
I'm just saying that the questions are closed for anyone that's popping in. We had, when we do this, Nancy Jean puts a comment into her community tab, and I did put that post up yesterday. You go to the community tab and you put your question in, and we had like 25 questions. So the questions are closed, but we're doing it again in 2 weeks, I think October 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So mark that on your calendars and watch out. And you need to subscribe to our channel so you'll know when it's going to come.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks, Priscilla.
Well, this fell out of the deck. So it says this is a life that you've been preparing for and getting ready for. So.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. This is the past life. And in that life, you had a lot of the same energies that you have now, but they got totally repressed and you were never allowed to connect to your people. And I really see this like the Middle Ages is where I see you standing. But now in this life, you've been able to quit crying over spilt milk. It's taken you a while, but you found the people that you don't have to go through rough seas with. You found the people that make the journey simple and not a lot of false fighting. And you in this life, you could create a very stable place around yourself spiritually.
You know how some readings just get you? This one gets me. like I feel emotional over it.
Yeah, because you came into this. You spent a lot of time on the other side working on your path and who to join up with again.
Wow. I've got the child card coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that was the first card and it kind of flew out. I'll show you the cards in a second. We've got the mature man. I've got food and hunger. I feel like you may have been doing some work on your inner child or past child, hurts, traumas in the present. It feels very much like feeling very insecure, maybe like a father issue.
Right.
I
No, she was the father. She couldn't provide.
Okay. That makes sense. There you go. And then I've got this food and hunger card. Like I said, I just pulled another card. I've got Archangel Zedkiel. It is time for transmutation. Carry the violet flame. It's time for you to release any of this stuff that's holding on or the burdens that you're carrying because of it, and allow yourself to really embrace your spirituality.
And if you want, you can go to my website, which is crystaldirectionswithanis.com, and I have a resources tab up there. If you go into the resources tab, the Violet Flame is there as a PDF to download. So,
yeah.
And it's very, very powerful. It really works. Okay. There's another one. I want to know how it impacts your present life, your past life. So we're going to look at that.
This is Margaret. Yes. The next show is Thursday, October the 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern. So everybody put that on your calendar.
1 p.m. Central, noon Mountain.
2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. where you live, up in Canada, bro.
Yeah. Up in the north. Wow, the cards are flying.
Yep. We're getting a lot of people who had traumatic lives.
Yes. Wow. I mean, hello, look.
Oh my goodness. This is your current life, and you've sown a lot of tragedy and change into your life, and a lot of movement. A lot of movement. And the reason was you have incredibly intense intuitive skills. You were trained in it in the period of time. You weren't trained in the like the way we think of it. You were trained in the Middle Ages or maybe 1700s. And it may have been that you were even part of the church, because there were a lot of spiritual people who went and hid in the Catholic Church and just didn't say everything they did. And and you help people find a lot of peace and justice. You came into this life not wanting to be in prison. So I think it may have been that you were part of a religious order. You want to be able to speak freely. And girl, don't cross you.
Right.
Tower. But you're very capable of moving on and riding ahead and leading movements. Right now, you're not at a point where you can do that. That there's some judgments or things you need to get out of the way to move forward, but you're definitely heading in the right path.
So I got the Despair in the Coffin. Right. I also got the Mature Man. Sort of look at those surroundings, business person or some sort of authority figure. Like when I look at that picture, I see lawyer, right? Like a judge.
She had justice.
Yeah. And then I got authority figures and wisdom. And so I feel that the struggle might be with authority figures, right? Whether you were like a judged in the past, so maybe you have issues with self-esteem or your self-worth. That's what I'm kind of vibing.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull something out of the past life cards, because I'm trying to figure out what era.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like this is like old.
Like Greek old?
Yeah, like way back.
Mhm. You were espoused to someone. Yeah, it was a time when people traveled by ship and they lived communally. So,
Look, I got wars and battles,
mhm.
which
And
that's not as old as I mean, I thought like, you know,
like Egypt or earlier than that. I don't get that. I get that you were in a time when you were married, that there was but when people traveled, they traveled in ships. When ships shows up for me, that means that was the way people got around.
right.
Okay.
My channel name Pixie Dust is I'll put it in the chat for you. Dozen.
Okay, Sandy, if your question is what past life has the most influence on this one, and she loves both of us. That's good.
Well, that's very kind. I will take all the love I can get.
That's right. It's not nice to piss off the reader, I tell you.
Nancy Jean.
Well, we're human, you know.
Oh my gosh, your cards are flying all over the place.
I know mine are just like, there's so much energy going on. Okay. Most influential life, past life to know. And when you get a real past life reading, like a long one where we spend a lot of time on it, we can pin down the time you were born in and a bunch of other stuff. But when we're doing, these are sort of quick and dirty ones. And okay, past life. Oh dear. you straightened it up pretty much. You got the here. You were a very evil, nasty ruler over some people, and you caused a lot of pain. And you had no illusions. You weren't even sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm doing this for their own good." You knew you were doing it for your own greed. So in this life, you've come in not having to be that kind of defensive. You don't lie. You just don't lie, because this guy was just an incredible liar. And you lead with your heart and with your soul, but you're not sure how to express it. You still have the Page of Wands upside down. You're not sure how to get that message out. What'd you get?
I've got really sad cards. I find orphan and imprisonment or slavery from your past life. Interestingly enough, then I have angels. So I feel like, you know, maybe you were put in like a convent. There was some religious influence in your life, which then created this new pathway, a way forward, a way for you to improve. What I think is lovely is I've got this conscious steps, which is considered action and looking forward. And so like, you know, the door was open to you. This is a really interesting card that I pulled, Family Tree, right? Your expansion and your legacy. Because of the orphan card and the imprisonment or slavery, I wonder if you've ever traced your family history back, and if there's something that might be revealed to you in your family history that could help sort of clear up any unfinished business. Makes sense in terms of this.
I think we're seeing two different past lives for this person.
Yeah.
The one where I saw them, they were being a right bastard.
Yeah.
So this life is one they've gone through. Now they're ready to come in and not tell lies and deal with things effectively.
Yeah. I wonder it to myself if the reason, like if I'm getting one and then you got the one after that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
because that would make you react in that fashion, right?
Okay. LLCs. Thank you. Someone, this was a two-parter, and I didn't put the second part up because it just ended up being really too long. Somehow, when I was wee, I had a great affinity for Native Americans. I dressed up in my brother's buckskin cowboy vests and chaps, and my mom used to paint all over her chest. But then, what the part two was when she went to school, her mother said, "Dear, we can't go around with open vests if we're little girls. We have to
Right.
cover ourselves." But I'm just going to see if I'm going to just swing the pendulum and see if you were, if you have Native American blood or Native Americans, great affinity. LLC and Native American. Yeah, absolutely. You were indigenous. And I asked if it shows up in your bloodline, and I don't know if you've had your genetics done, but it's not a strong effect in your bloodline. But when I was swinging the pendulum and asking if you were part of the Native Americans, you really liked the order and the structure of the tribe you were in, and I think you were Iroquois, if you haven't read about them. But the Iroquois nations were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And for both male and female, they had extremely strong. Thomas Jefferson stole a lot from the Constitution they'd been living under for 1,000 years before the white man got here, but they had a lot of roles that were considered women's that were extremely strong in the tribes, and we did not adopt that into our Constitution, obviously.
No, I got transportation, the high priest or priestess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting something different than you got. I got wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling from the Kipper deck, just because I've got poverty.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the false person.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the high honor. So to me, these cards sort of are mimicking each other. And what I mean by that is, the poverty, which is why you transported, right? You're trying to move yourself away from that. The false person is sort of, to me, this combination between this high priest or priestess and the woman and the poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I think you reincarnated a ton of ways in that group.
Group. I sort of feel like there was hiding behind something, like
Mm-hmm.
who you were inside is not how you were on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
But I think you felt it was one part of your life was very powerful, and then as I think you kept reincarnating within that group, and then it did not come out so well towards the end. Okay. Rossis, I would love a past life reading, please. Past life chords. What past life chords is still important, and what lessons do I need to overcome? So it's kind of a lot to get out of 7 cards, but we'll work on it. Okay. This is the past life. And you had your act together in a past life. And the problem is that you never fulfilled all that you could have done with the treasure you were given. You never quite got it a whole and all together. Never really finished your trail, the soul trail you'd set up for yourself. So this time you came in less encumbered. You didn't always have to be with people. And you have known your psychic your whole life. You just question your choices, and you shouldn't question your choices. You should just expose yourself to as much as you can and feel where you feel most comfortable, because you don't always have to be balanced. You can kind of decide, I'm going to go whole hog and looking at this discipline or that discipline or meditation or learning from groups. Before, you always felt like you had to harmonize, so you never finished your journey. And in this life, you don't have to do that, and you're going to wrap up a lot of stuff you didn't pick up before. It's going to make you feel like you're standing on your head, because your whole past life you sought balance, and there's a whole lot about the ascension that is not balance. It's about taking a chance on it and doing it.
I love that you got that, Nancy Jane. I got the Mother card for past life. I also got the Native American, which is interesting. Now, what I'm picking up in the Kipper deck is marriage. I've got the Privileged Lady. I've got Judication. And they like flung out all at once. And I've got the bad health. And so I feel like a mother that was I don't know, absent, but hard to please is kind of how I feel. I feel like constantly trying to please, constantly trying to like seek approval is what I'm picking up. And I feel like in this current life, sort of emulating the mother from the past, right? That you go to the extreme to have other people feel that they don't have to get approval from you, if that makes sense.
No, she's got to forge her own path. Your problem was you were letting other people restrict which way you should go.
Yeah,
that's the cord you need to cut.
Yeah, with that judgment card, right?
Right. Okay. Going purple goddess. Whoa. Thank you. I was curious about my past life, what it's possibly the impact on this life. So.
Oh my God, that might possibly impact my current life. I want to tell you guys, just while we're shuffling the cards real quick, I have had a reading with Nancy Jean, the long version, and it provided me with a great sense of healing and understanding as to, how I am now and, maybe why I do the things that I do. It can be beneficial in so many ways.
Yeah, and we don't just do, sometimes you just get one past life. I mean, that's what comes through. Sometimes you see a whole line of them and how they led one to the other. Hey. You got two aces. Oh, yeah, you came into this life to make change. And in the past life, you never really developed the skills your body was given. You had a lot of strength, but you didn't express your soul very well. And that's come through in this life, in that you have trouble sometimes getting things up and running. You've not been as generous with yourself and sharing as you should have been. And this right side up or upside down means you've always had your material needs met. This life is a real change for you, in that in this one, you just you had all the strength in the world and you just kind of blew it off. And in this life, you've had a lot of impediments put in your way, but you're going to make it work anyhow. You're going to break this cycle for yourself.
Yep. The only weird card that I got, not weird, but what I mean is the only card that doesn't seem to fit the other cards that I've got is this Atlantis card. So there's that connection. I got vows. So vows can mean many different things, but with what Nancy Jean was saying, it made sense to me, because I got the Privileged Lady and I got the message of concern with the vows. right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is you um, really learning from the past with these vows that you don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
so strict, so stringent, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, or restrictive, right? Um, how things are supposed to be versus how things are.
Mm-hmm.
And with these two cards, you're really working on that in this present life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between what you think it's supposed to be and how it really is, and then your reaction to that, how you go with the flow, sort of feeling,
Right.
if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah, because what I got is you're afraid of your own power.
Yeah.
You're the magician reversed. And you don't want to listen to people when they try to, when you hear someone who's telling you, you hear something, I should go in this direction, you run away from it because of how badly you've handled it in the past. You
Yeah.
have got the, and see, all these cards in the center can change. So you need to accept your own power and not be afraid of it. Learn and follow and just learn as much as you can. And you don't, then you'll be able to be totally productive. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not productive in your life right now, but it means that your fear of misusing power and just sloughing it off. And I kind of made it through that time. Can I do it again?
Yeah.
And that's just,
I feel like I want to say to you, Purple Goddess, that putting up boundaries are about you, right? A lot of people
mm-hmm,
think when you put boundaries up that it's like, you know, it's about them, right? They
mm-hmm,
must have done something wrong to
mm-hmm,
you to make you do that. Putting up boundaries is a step that protects yourself, right? So
mm-hmm,
that you have a time where you can recharge yourself, or love yourself up, or whatever the case may be. That might be something that you can consider in terms of what you're working towards here. Just put up some boundaries, some healthy boundaries for
mm-hmm.
yourself.
That's right. Okay, let's see.
Hi, Hershey. Rose Blue just said the funniest thing in the chat. It says,
Well,
I have more sense than the GOP, so I got to have more than 3 past lives.
no, no, there are really primitive creatures that come into our world clueless.
Right.
I was taught that a long time ago. And there's a bunch of them I can think of. Anyway,
Right.
okay, I totally relate to this question. When this says the first time I traveled outside the US, I went to London. It was so
Mm-hmm.
interesting for me that I never got lost. I felt like I knew my way around and felt so comfortable, unusually so. And I found that was particularly true around Thames, and around the old city of London and Lincoln Inn's Fields and that area. When I went over at 17, I didn't even look at a map, and I found our way to Carnaby Street. And if you've never been to London, Carnaby Street's in a pretty obscure place.
Wow.
And then another time when I was in London, my second husband was born there and lived in London during the Second World War as a child. And he went to college in London and then came to the US when he was in his 30s, which was in the late 60s. And we went to visit his family so we could take our youngest over for them to see. Now, mind you, at this point, he was 65 and I was 20 years his junior. And here he is touting around a little kid that's younger than most of the grandkids of his siblings. So it's kind of a fun time. But anyway, we got in the city of London. And as soon as we got in the center part of London, I knew how to get to everywhere. And he fought with me. I said, the River Thames is this way. And he said, no, it's not. So we went walking like 3 blocks. And I said, look, the kid's going to tire out. We got to figure out. So we asked someone. And I've been right. And Bill said, how did you know that? And I don't know. I knew London like the back of my hand.
Right.
And really had no problem there at all. So I totally understand. Let's see. We're going to try and pinpoint the life you had in London and how it's reflected on you now. You're like my friend that's in Ireland. She's going to see herself all over the place over there. So you talk is DZZ. DZZ. Do you want to go?
Yeah. I've got the High Priest or Priestess again showing up. I've got the Farm showing up, and I've got Lessons and Blessings. And so, I'm just picking up like a I know that I don't want this to sound corny, but I'm just picking up like that idealistic, picturesque, you know, vibe of an agricultural family, right? People that work
Mhm.
the land and live off of the land, and it's, you know, you don't have a lot, but you have a lot of love. There's a lot of spirit there.
Mhm.
And then I've got you know, the toil and labor. So in this Kipper deck, there's two working cards. One is occupation and one is toil and labor. Toil and labor is the, you know, the 7 days a week, 14, 16 hours a day. This
Mhm.
is like a hard graft, right? So hard work you're no stranger to. And I think that that comes through from working the land, right? Um, there is the expectation that this life will uh, be just as blessed as your past life,
Mhm.
but wanting a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then we've got this courtship. So your support system, your family is really important to you. You know, your partner,
Mhm.
that kind of idea. That's what I got.
What I got is weird. I taste gin in my mouth, and I think she lived in London in Victorian England.
Mm,
She lived there at a time where you had to really protect yourselves. She had grown up on a farm, but they were displaced, and she ended up moving in to a world that she was not. She didn't have the privilege or other things to get into. But she's this life. She's found other people to guide her away from some of the shortcomings. I think you may have taken the easy way out in old London and had a few gins every day. Mother's little helper in the Victorian era, and you've been able to make a going for yourself, but you never really. You've always found it in unconventional ways. It's not necessarily something you trained for, but you're very good at balancing things. So even though you may not have gotten all the formal education you wanted, or you did get the formal education you wanted, but you didn't end up using it the way you could have, but you're very good at balancing. And this life is this trip to London was to teach you. You have been to other places before, but you
mm,
never got lost. And the fact that you didn't get lost in London should be the metaphor for you that I will never get lost.
mm.
Okay.
Also, I feel like the home, like
Yeah.
London's like it,
But
like you feel at home, you feel safe, you feel secure,
right.
right?
Right. She
Being in-
found a way to live there, but
Yeah,
she came up in an agricultural place. And when they got thrown in the city, it was rough
yeah,
because that's where my husband, he'd be in his 90s now. And he used to say that his family, they don't know where they came from. They just staggered into London during the Industrial Revolution from Wales. If you see a Lloyd spelled with two L's, that's a Welsh Lloyd. And that was his name. So, okay, this is from Tammy. And sorry I cut your name off because you had written such. I love knowing the whole backstory, but essay tests don't fit in my little square. So it says as she had this vision and she saw her husband walk into a church in a kilt, and then
right.
he walked out with another person, and then but it was clearly her husband. Well, then when people were trying to drag her away and keep her away from him, he morphed into a burly man with red hair and a red beard. I felt that this is what he looked like in that life. I think that's very true. Um, so I'm going to see if you were seeing a real incident that happened from that past life. Since she gave me the whole thing, and I think I was here. And when I was reading it, it read very much like yeah, you were there.
Gotcha. Hi, everybody. Thank you for everybody for being here. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up, no matter
Mhm.
whose channel that you're watching on. We appreciate your support.
Mhm.
Thank you. I want to say, you know, before we finish, I want to just say thank you to everybody who put the questions in the comments. I mean,
Mhm.
wow, 25 questions before we even started. That's amazing.
Mhm.
And we will be back on October the 5th to do this again. So make sure that your bell notification is checked off so that you know. Okay.
I got yes. This is a confirmation dream to you. In
Wow.
that you don't need to sail through the rough times. You can build a wall to defend yourself. You shouldn't be judgmental about this life based on what happened in the other lives because
Hmm.
there was a lot of crap going on. But this is what he looked like, but he was redheaded.
Wow,
has
look
the
at that.
sword. Yep. And you two, I think either when you went into that life or ever since you've made this pact to keep coming, being this within the same soul family.
Yeah. Well, I just turned a card over.
Okay.
Gotta love it when that happens. Okay, look at what I got. I just find this so fascinating, Cami. I got transportation, and then in the keeper deck, I got journey. So both of them are the trains.
Yeah, and both of them are on. They're on. I think that what that would read to me is you two are on the same journey.
Yep. You're on, like, you're headed towards each other. You're on the same path. You're traveling together. What I got in the kippers is so beautiful. I've got the child, which represents to me in this particular instance family, right? The privileged lady. Like, you're on a pedestal, right? The love is great. And then I got great fortune, and I feel like past or present, you feel very fortunate. He feels very fortunate that you two have, found your way to each other. I mean, look at that. That's amazing. Right? Those two trains.
There's billions of souls that come back on the earth, and you two always manage to find it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. We're going to go to this is not a question for us to answer. Please send healing and light to Sharon's sister Deb. That's why Sharon's not here today. Sharon is on her sister's getting a liver transplant, I believe, and Sharon's over there taking care of her, and that's just, she deserves all the love in the world for doing that, because it's a hard job to get to be caught in, even if you can love them to death, but it's really hard.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm all over the map. I'm drawn to Vikings, Egypt, North Africa, Easter Islands, the Mayan culture. Have I lived in any of these places and experienced these cultures? Yeah, absolutely. But and I'm going to lay a Spirit 7 and see if I can pick one of them and the message from there. All of those cultures did a lot of traveling, and they all had a lot of, people don't think about the Vikings, but they really did have a spiritual space within their world. And Egypt did, and North Africa did. And Easter Island made their own. Easter Island, wasn't that supposedly the remainders of Lemuria, whatever that's called?
Yep.
I don't say that word so good. Like Sunday, Scott could not get the word philanthropy out of his mouth. He kept coming up with pharmacy and all this other stuff.
Don't you love it when that happens? I have there's a deck of cards that I just sort of in the last few months got, and there is a card, and for the life of me, it just, I mean, I can say the word, but as soon as I see that on the card, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It happens.
Okay. What I got is, I see Vikings here. I see kind of spinning around the world. I don't think you're terribly fond of water, even though you're a Viking. You were always more of a spiritual leader than a let's go stab them leader. You may have even been a woman's warrior in that culture. But and at the end of that culture, you said, I want a new beginning. I want to find a new place to be. Now you realize that there's a lot of theory that that we're not living in past lives. We live all our lives simultaneously. So if you adjust yourself out of warrior mode in the Vikings, that will ripple through to the other lives you're living. So you're really, even though you've had all these kinds of influences, you're really in this life on a new path. And I'm going to see what it is. And your new path is forgiveness.
Wow.
So yeah, because they were all kinds of sort of warrior cultures there too. So.
This is interesting. So I got galactic. None of the places that you mentioned, but galactic. I also got I also got male, female. This literally fell out onto the floor, as well as father. I love that picture. Just as an FYI, we've got Distant Horizons with this ship that looks very much like a Viking ship to me. We've got Toil and Labor, so a lot of hard work, and we've got the Courtship. So there's definitely with this male, female, and this courtship, there is someone in your present life that you have been with in your past life. And the Distant Horizons and the Galactic. I want to go out on a limb here and say that you've been to all of these places, all of these places that you mentioned. And if you're dreaming them, for example, or if you draw them, or you just like look at pictures, or you've traveled to these places, they're resonating with you for a reason. So don't second guess it. Is kind of what I want to say.
Okay. I have inexplicable connections to other certain people. Are there past lives that can explain these encounters? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you just keep running into a very strong soul tribe. And there's no past lives things about it. You've agreed to come back here. You've agreed to work within those structures and made it stronger. I hope you don't feel ripped off, but I'm not going to lay cards on this because that's how past lives work. You get to come back and work with the same people. And I heard somebody say it's like you're sitting up on the other side and you're sitting around the table and you said, well, I took it on the chin last time. It's your turn. So y'all sort of, it's like this giant poker game of how we're going to live this life. And that's where you are. So did you want to just pull a card for her or whatever?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Real quick, like.
Yeah, because we're getting at 53 minutes. So
look at that. I've got Aphrodite and Eternal Love.
Right. See, that's what I mean. You're attached to these people, not just by tasks and things, but by loving them and to learn how to love by living lives through them and with them. Okay, we're going to the next one. Nancy Jean, I wish I knew about a past life. Where was it geographically? I know I've had many monastic lives. Well, monastic could throw you into the Far East or into Europe, but we're going to see if I can spot a monastic life for you. What in your life, I'm going to tell, artistic, what in this life where someone tried to put you into like a monastery or like a living situation that would have isolated you from people except for certain tasks? I have a feeling that'd be a good one for you to answer, but let's see about a monastic life for you. You got a bonus card. I don't know where it came from, but it was sitting in the middle of the table, so you got a bonus card.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I see. It was Middle Ages, undoubtedly, because you got the two knights, and you were not terribly happy in the monasteries. You felt like it limited you from learning about a lot of stuff. So you came in this life to a very unconventional family, and this is a card that fell out, and this is solving this problem. That's part of working within the family you came into. You turned your back on your psychic abilities, but now you're going to not be burdened by not acknowledging that part of you anymore. And you're going to become a teacher in this field somehow.
Wow. That's crazy that you just said that. Okay, so real quick, I've got Egypt. This card keeps coming up. Imprisonment or slavery. You've got phobias, so lots of fears. Obviously, if you were imprisoned, you would have a lot of fears to deal with, a lot of challenges, issues of forgiveness. When you said teacher, that's why I said wow, because I've got scribe or writer. From the Kipper, I've got despair, which is, there's like fear, there's anxiety, there's stress, there's like a burden that might be carried forward. But then we have this high honor and the Lover's card. So great support system and achievements. whether this is actual achievements or wanting to be successful. I feel like you have overcome
Mhm.
these issues from the past, but the phobia, the fear that you're not doing enough, or maybe the bar is set way too high for you. There's something there. I don't know.
I think she's getting out of it this life, but or he, artistic world could be a he too.
Yes.
Beth Knight. I think Beth is a Beth. I'd like to know who I was in a past life and the impact it's having on my current life. That seemed to be the question of the day.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can pick out one past life that's affecting you like right now. They affect you all the time, and you don't have a ton of, I mean, I know people say you have a ton of them, but I was trained by people when I worked with past lives at first, you have maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because if you carried in all the crap from all of them, you'd never get anywhere. This life, you're doing great, girl. That life, yeah, not so much. Well, and horrible. Oh, no. But in that life, you never met the people you needed to. Changes needed to be made. You weren't very good at doing that. And you had the sun, so you had a lot of energy inside you to make the changes you needed to make. So this life, you came in with more companionable people, and you're moving right along. But right now, you should be expressing more. You need to get into heart consciousness. You got the Queen of Cups because you're feeling imprisoned. So what was the impact from this one? You keep waiting to have to meet all the right people. I don't think you do. I think you could just move ahead on your own. On your own.
So interesting. I love doing this with you, Nancy Jean. I just want to say that in case I said it already. We've got the male, female, backs to each other, right? Who am I? Where can I be? Where can I serve best? Right? We've got the knighthood. So to me, there's then I've got the phobia card again. And like, I feel like there's some struggle there, right? Like, who am I? What can I achieve? Like that kind of thing. Again, picking up on that people thing, because I literally got the community card, right? So either you're like a people pleaser where you're constantly trying to like outdo your own self.
That's sort of your first thought is
right. Or you feel like not understood, or like you don't know where you fit in, right? Which like that takes me back to that card. Like I don't feel like I know what I'm doing here.
Okay. You ready to go?
Yeah, go.
Okay. I'm curious to find out about past life and how it impacts this life. Does this sound like this? This is for Debbie, though.
A past life that impacts this life.
And I think my plumbers are coming back, guys, because
Artistic World says fear of closed spaces, claustrophobic. Yeah. Hi, Angela. It's good to see you. Hi, Marby. Hi, everybody that's in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, you guys.
Thanks for staying.
Yeah, all the way to the end.
Okay,
Jeepers.
Past life was very transitional. Death, there was a lot of death around you. I really feel like, man, you must have gone nuts when COVID hit, because what I'm seeing here is the plague was around her in past life, and she had everything going, and she didn't want those changes to happen. And this time, COVID's been costly to you, in that certain channels you had to make money have gone away, but at the end, it's going to smooth out your seas. It's not going to be as traumatic as you think, but it's been hard on you, man. When they closed us down, you must have your soul must have been jumping around inside your body like a madman.
I got chips, which is interesting. You said seas, and I literally pulled this card. Not that they have anything to do with each other, but there you go, Freudian slip or whatever. We've got wisdom. I don't know if this seems weird or not, but I sort of feel like you were like an explorer of sorts. Like you were on the ship exploring America, you know what I mean? Like trying to find
Mm-hmm.
places, like you were an adventurer. That's the
Mm-hmm.
word. That was a hard graft for you. You're used to hard work. You work very hard. Don't necessarily feel like you're making progress all the time. But you are a very certain and strong individual. Like you know exactly who
Mm-hmm.
you are and what you need to do, which that's carrying that wisdom forward.
Well, you've
That's
learned a lot to get yourself out of that. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 more guys. So
woohoo.
Barbara
Nancy,
Odom,
Dean, and Kelly rocking it out. Here we go.
thanks for remembering my past life. I think I'm remembering my past life, or is it my ancestors? I feel a connection to Scotland and Ireland. Let's see. I'm going to do a yes, no, if your past life goes there. And then when you go to bed tonight, you can ask your dreams to show you what you need to know. You know, there's more people with Irish blood here in this country than there are in Ireland. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you were in both of them. You fought in both of them. You had good lives in both of them. But if you're where you're supposed to be, but you need to work harder on opening your heart to some of the, the wee folk and the fairy tales and the things that were very important to those cultures. You need to open your heart up a little bit more to that. Okay.
Interesting. I got biblical
Mm-hmm.
and imprisonment or slavery again. I don't know why that card keeps coming out. I've got the main male.
A lot of people came over here from Scotland and Ireland because England said, get on the ship or die.
Exactly. But there was there is the whole religious situation in Ireland and Scotland. And so perhaps you had to come here to sort of flee that persecution, right? That religious persecution. We've got courtship and the main male. So, your security, the partner, something here is very important to you, which feels it's like this is the new opportunity. This is why you came here. This is why you ran away from this, right? Okay. That's what I got.
Okay. I think you if you can think back that way, you'll find out. And you also need to look the myths and legends from that culture that's important to you to find for yourself.
Right.
I would like to know which lessons I need to learn from my past lives. Okay, we're going to do it real quick because after this, I think we've got 2 more. Because I do have one more thing I want to talk about at the end of this, which is about my tarot classes. Oh, in your past life, you did what you loved. You were almost a penitent in the Catholic Church, and you felt imprisoned. So in this life, you came in. I don't know that I want to do that again. But you built up your skills really well. But it's not always been for the money. Just like when you were in the religious life, it wasn't always for the money. And right now, you find you have a hard time expressing what you want to have. That's King of Cups. You can turn him around and learn how to express what you really want to say. But that's what in this, you really like this monastic life, but you felt like a prisoner. So
I got the imprisoned card for like the 20th time so far today. I've got food and hunger. And it's interesting because that is coming up in the Kipper cards as well. We've got judgment and the official person. So feeling quite restricted. I also pulled this card, which is attachment, and it is longing and desperation. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it feels like no matter what you do, it's not good enough. Like there may be a little bit of that you're dealing with, a little bit of like, you know, negative self-talk, self-sabotage, get in your own way kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Okay. We're going to Cynthia Pierce. Which life is affecting my finances and how can I remove that blockage? We'll see if I can pull that up. I can't order the cards to go find a life.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Wouldn't that be awesome if you could?
Mm-hmm. It's past life affecting her finances. Oh, it's because in the past life, you chose to do something. It ended up putting you in a hard place and you got killed. That'll do it. So in this life, you're choosing to try and separate from that life, but you haven't found the right people. But the people you do need to connect with are coming up soon. But you have to speak from your true voice. You can't be afraid. But you've also in this life made some sad choices about moving forward. You've gotten on a boat with some wrong folks. But that life, yeah, you need to, I don't know if you know about Archangel Michael and using a sword. You need to sit and meditate on, you know, how he can cut those cords that tie you to that so you'll quit making bad choices. But then you ask him in and you say, take your sword, cut above me and below me, to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back. And he takes his big old wishy sword. And you have to ask him. I mean, he doesn't just go around doing this because he thinks, oh, here's a poor person I could let free. And you will feel something in your body. And if you ask specifically about the things you brought forward from that past life about finances, you'll quit making skewed choices. Okay.
Okay, so you said people in a boat, and I got the ship's card again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if I'm picking up on the past life or what Nancy Jean said, but there you go. We've got the trees. So to me, this is like legacy, right? This is family.
Mm-hmm.
This is wisdom.
It's the legacy of her own soul. It's not even her family's legacy.
Yeah. We've got the knighthood.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting that you were talking about Archangel Michael's sword. Mm-hmm. I've got concern and courtship. So, you know, the feeling of just like it's just not good enough. It's not going to work. Like there's like a sense of fear sometimes, like, you know, like the black cloud kind of idea. And I like that tree, that wisdom. There's something about the wisdom.
Right.
You have the wisdom within you, but for whatever reason, and I can relate to that because I have anxiety panic disorder. So I get, you know, not tapping into the resources that I know that I have is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Stella. Stella's the last question.
Wow. Look at us.
About the tarot class. Thank you. I'm curious to know my past life. I've had dreams of places I've never been to. How does my past life impact my current life? Probably just like the other ones. If you hold on to the negative, it's not going to help you, but we're going to see what your past life comes out as.
I think, see, this is why I think that this is so helpful, that when it comes through as a past life thing that you're brought forward, that you're, you know, didn't learn the lessons and you're trying to fit that in. Now it makes sense, right? Now it makes sense that you're carrying it forward. It's not something that you can blame yourself for, or you're blaming others for your environment, your situation, whatever. And now you can look at it from a different perspective and hopefully be able to reach a solution or a resolution, right?
Okay. In the past life, you were very successful, but you fell for those who had illusions and delusions. But mostly you were successful and you moved forward. And in that life, you moved forward. And that's what you're dreaming about, is the places that motivated you to go forward. You are not a good student. You are not a person who want to apply yourself in that kind of an environment, because you already kind of knew the books before you got there. And you're very good at creating good partnerships. And the money is open for you again in this life. So what you learned from a past life is not a negative thing. The impact it should be on your current life is how to make more money and do it well and build wealth, real soul wealth and personal wealth.
Wow. Okay, so scriber writer, so literally writing your own story, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is someone who's connected to like Akashic Records, right? Someone who is that way designed. You have the love life here. So heart-centered feelings are important, right? Who you are and how you love. We have bad health, so some anxiety that I was mentioning prior. The child, which is either new starts or literally like child from your childhood, right? And we have occupation. So you're a hard worker, and you're trying to get things done in the way that you need to do them, but there might be some childhood issues which have to do with, I think, this feeling of not quite being loved the way that you need to be loved. Does that make sense?
Well, she needs to learn. She needs to look back at her old self to reflect and come forward.
Yeah.
But you were successful. And, sometimes your karma is that you're very successful and you can come teach other people how to be successful. I like to think. Anyway, so now we're going to get me back in the picture so I can talk about this. If you're interested in the tarot classes, the night class starts on Monday and the day class starts on the 29th at noon. And if you want to know, here we can get rid of Stella. If you want to know how to do what Kelly and I do, these 6 weeks, by the end of that 6 weeks, as a matter of fact, we spend almost a whole 1 week on past lives and reading that kind of energy into your life and to be able to read it in for others. So at the bottom of this, and the little spiel that we put up there so you can find it forever, is the links that go to, and they're long, the HTTPS, blah, 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 because StreamYard doesn't let you create a highlighted link. They don't have hyperlinks. You have to print the whole mother out. But the classes are filling up. And I'm really excited about it. Between Jeffrey and I, well, we originally figured out we have about 80 years of experience, but that's because I have 60. And so we decided we'd go with the 60 because, who wants to count the first when I was a kid doing it. But,
right.
And I had an interesting question that came in, and it wasn't about a past lives, but it was from someone who said, it was kind of like, what could a tarot reader ever have? They like, you're just flipping cards. How could you ever tie into the energy of past lives? Well, between Jeffrey and I, we both been trained in astrology, numerology, cards. We also have learned a lot about, Jeffrey's excellent at meditation. He knows a lot of healing energy techniques. When you look at us and we say, I read tarot cards, I do read tarot cards, but that's not all we do. And so the lady who wrote that comment, I showed it to my daughter, and she said, this is the kind of person that would drink half their cup of coffee at Starbucks and demand a refund. So that's basically the energy you're giving off, and I don't understand why you were wasting it on us, because it doesn't penetrate at all. We know who we are. We can't help you with who you are because you didn't ask a question. So that's kind of how we're concluding the show. We are going to conclude the show with positive thoughts of all the people who are going to come and join our class. Yeah.
And we will be back on October the 5th.
We'll be back doing this thing on October the 5th. We're not just a one-trick pony.
Right. And by the way, for anybody that's interested in joining Nancy Jean's tarot class, I'm a student of Nancy Jean, so I highly recommend.
Yeah, practice on Kelly.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't done it for so long and after COVID. So I passed she taught the same curriculum I'm going to be teaching every 6 weeks. The classes only have 15 people in each class. So you're not going to get into the one I got herded into a giant class and no one ever saw me. I want to have it small enough so that people can interact and work with each other.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you kids, the way to learn how to read cards is read cards. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, I'm so grateful for the 40 plus of you that showed up and wandered in and out. And thank you for showing up. And I get to walk through my incredibly disorderly house. I don't know where the little wall guys go, but they went away and took their noise with them. So hopefully they'll be back to finish the walls.
Hopefully.
And talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Blessings.